Have you ever noticed how strange the human heart is? How it can hold on to pain the same way it holds on to love? Let me ask you something honestly. If sadness knocked on your door today, would you recognize it as an old guest you've already made a bed for? Most people think they want happiness, but deep down, many of us keep choosing sadness, not because we enjoy suffering, but because it feels familiar. It feels safe. It feels like home. Imagine a person sitting alone in a quiet room at night, lights dim, phone face down, replaying the same memories again and again. Nothing new is happening, yet the pain keeps returning. Not because it has to, but because it is allowed to. That is how sadness slowly becomes a companion. It doesn't rush in violently. It enters softly, sits beside you, and whispers, "At least I won't surprise you." There is a strange comfort in sorrow. It doesn't demand courage from you. It doesn't ask you to change. It doesn't force you to step into uncertainty. Happiness does all of that. Happiness asks you to risk disappointment again. It asks you to open your heart after it has already been broken. It asks you to try, knowing you might fail. Sadness, on the other hand, asks you to do nothing. Just feel bad. Just stay still. Just remember what went wrong. And that is why it can become addictive. Not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, invisible way that slowly shapes your identity. You don't even realize it's happening until one day you can't imagine yourself without it. Think about the moments that usually bring sadness. A relationship ends, and suddenly the future you imagine disappears. A job is lost, and with it, your sense of purpose. Someone you love deeply is gone, and no amount of logic can fill that empty space. Or maybe nothing dramatic happened at all. Maybe you simply reached a certain age and realized your life doesn't look the way you thought it would. You thought you would be further ahead. You thought you would be happier. And that realization hurts in a quiet, heavy way. These are real pains. These are valid reasons to feel sad. Sadness itself is not the enemy. It is a natural human emotion. It proves that you cared. It proves that you hoped. It proves that you loved. Sadness can even be useful. It slows you down when life feels overwhelming. It forces you to sit with yourself and listen. It helps you process loss. It teaches you depth. Without sadness, happiness would feel shallow and meaningless. Joy feels brighter because we know darkness exists. Peace feels precious because we remember chaos. In that sense, sadness is not something to fight or erase. It deserves to be felt. It deserves respect. But here's where things quietly go wrong. Sometimes, after sadness has done its job, we refuse to let it leave. At first, you tell yourself you are just healing. You say you need more time. And that is true, for a while. Healing is not instant. But weeks turn into months. Months turn into years. And sadness is still there, not because the pain is fresh, but because it has become familiar. You wake up sad. You go to sleep sad. You replay the same thoughts, the same if only sentences, the same regrets. If only I had tried harder. If only I had been better. If only I had said the right thing. These thoughts feel productive, but they are not. They don't change the past. They only punish you in the present. Slowly, sadness becomes your safe place. It becomes part of how you see yourself. You start believing this is just who you are now. A sad person. A broken person. A person who missed their chance. And without realizing it, you stop reaching for anything better. Because better feels risky. Better feels unfamiliar. Better feels like it could be taken away again. Sadness, at least, stays. It is predictable. You know how it feels. You know how to survive it. And so you stay there, not because you want to suffer, but because you are afraid to hope. Happiness is demanding. It asks you to show up. It asks you to take responsibility for your life. It asks you to rebuild after loss. It asks you to imagine a future again. And imagining a future after being hurt feels terrifying. What if you try again and fail again? What if you open your heart and it breaks again? What if you climb toward happiness only to fall back into sadness? So instead of risking the climb, you stay in the valley. At least in the valley, you know the ground beneath your feet. There is a saying that sadness gives depth and happiness gives height. Sadness makes you thoughtful, reflective, and aware of life's fragility. Happiness lifts you, energizes you, and expands your world. But reaching height requires effort. You have to climb. You have to struggle. And once you reach a peak, you know you won't stay there forever. There will be another descent. Knowing that can make you hesitate to climb at all. So you tell yourself you are being realistic. You say you are protecting yourself. But what you are really doing is choosing comfort over growth. Life is not meant to be lived at the extremes. It is not endless happiness, and it is not permanent sadness. There is a middle ground called contentment. But contentment does not happen by accident. It requires awareness. It requires effort. It requires the courage to feel sadness without building a home inside it. And that is the part many people struggle with. Because letting go of sadness feels like letting go of a part of yourself. It feels like betraying your past pain. It feels like saying what happened didn't matter. But that is not true. Moving forward does not mean forgetting. It means choosing not to let the past control your future. Breaking free from an addiction to sadness begins with honesty. You have to admit to yourself that at some point, sadness stopped being something you felt and started being something you lived in. You have to notice how often you return to painful memories, even when nothing reminds you of them. You have to notice how you sometimes choose isolation, not because you need rest, but because you don't want to be challenged. You have to notice how self-pity quietly replaces self-compassion. This awareness is uncomfortable, but it is powerful, because once you see the pattern, you have a choice. Changing does not mean forcing yourself to be happy overnight. That is unrealistic and cruel. It means gently interrupting the thoughts that keep pulling you backward. It means reminding yourself that you have already suffered enough for what happened. It means telling yourself that grieving does not require endless punishment. You can honor your pain without letting it define you. You can remember what you lost without losing yourself in the memory. This process takes patience. Some days you will move forward. Other days you will slip back into old habits. That does not mean you failed. It means you are human. Healing is not a straight line. What matters is intention. Each time you choose action over rumination, presence over regret, you weaken sadness's hold on you. Each time you try something new, even while feeling afraid, you remind yourself that life is still happening. Support matters more than people like to admit. Talking to someone you trust, sharing what you feel without shame, can loosen sadness's grip. Sometimes you need a friend. Sometimes you need family. Sometimes you need professional help. There is no weakness in that. Refusing help because you believe you should suffer alone only strengthens the addiction. You are not meant to carry everything by yourself. Aim for a life where emotions are allowed to come and go. Let happiness visit without demanding it stay forever. Let sadness arrive without letting it settle permanently. Each emotion has a role, but none of them deserve control over your entire life. A life with ups and downs is not a broken life. It is a real one. And a real life, with all its uncertainty and challenge, is far more meaningful than a flat existence spent hiding in familiar pain. If you stay in sadness for too long, something quiet but dangerous happens. Your motivation fades. Your belief in change weakens. Your world shrinks. And the longer you stay there, the harder it becomes to imagine anything different. That is why it is so important to act, even in small ways. Acknowledge what you feel. Process it honestly. Then take one step forward. Not a giant leap. Just one step. And then another. You are not broken for feeling sad. But you deserve more than living inside that feeling forever. You deserve moments of peace. You deserve growth. You deserve the chance to surprise yourself again. Life will still bring pain. That is unavoidable. But it will also bring meaning, connection, and quiet joy if you allow yourself to move toward it. So if you recognize yourself in these words, know this. You are not alone. And you are not stuck. Sadness may feel like an old friend, but it does not have to be your future. You can thank it for what it taught you and still choose to walk forward without it holding your hand. And if this message resonates with you, if you feel it might help someone else who is quietly stuck in the same place, share it with them. Sometimes, one reminder is all it takes to begin again.